Welcome to this video on the dark history of Russia's genocides and mass killings. While Russia has a rich cultural heritage and a storied history, one should point out that Russia didn't get to become the biggest country on earth by giving out cookies. We should also need to point out that Russia is by no means the only country in the world who has practiced genocide, although it does look like the genocide seems to have been a consistent policy of the Russian state throughout the history. And if we leave the morality aside, then it has also been at times very effective. With that in mind, let's begin. First on our list is the Circassian genocide, which took place in the 19th century under the Russian Empire. The Circassians, a Muslim ethnic group, were targeted by Russian forces in a campaign that resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands and the forced migration of survivors to the Ottoman Empire. The Circassian genocide is considered by many to be one of the first modern genocides. On a darker note, it can also be said that genocide was an effective solution for the Circassian problem. The nation got completely wiped out, and their territory became an ancient Russian land. Next up is the Ukrainian Holodomor, a man-made famine that occurred in Soviet Ukraine between 1932 and 1933. The Soviet government under Joseph Stalin implemented policies that led to the starvation of millions of Ukrainians with the intention of crushing Ukrainian resistance to Soviet rule. The Holodomor is considered by many to be an act of genocide, although the Russian government disputes this characterization. If we leave the moral compass aside, then we can also note that it did help to further Russia's interest. Parts of Ukraine got repopulated by new people who got relocated into Ukraine by the Soviet regime. Along with it, they brought a different culture and mindset. Later on, this divided the Ukraine, and Russia used the pretext of protecting Russian speakers to invade the Ukraine once more. Under this new invasion, some of the same old policies seem to be manifesting themselves. There are new allegations of genocide, and Russia is actively deporting Ukraine's children to Russia, where their Ukrainian identity is to be erased. It's kind of "we make Russians out of you whether you like it or not" approach. Moving on. Another example of Soviet-era violence is the deportation of Chechens and Ingush in 1944. Stalin's government accused these two Muslim ethnic groups of collaborating with Nazi Germany and deported their entire populations from their homelands in the North Caucasus to Central Asia and Siberia. Tens of thousands died during the forced migration and in the subsequent years of exile. This actually was one of the more moderate successes of genocide, mainly because that many Chechens returned back to their homeland later on, and Chechnya, despite all the wars there, was still able to maintain their national identity and a majority population status in their native land. Finally, during World War II, the Soviet government carried out the massacres of Crimean Tatars. The Tatars, another Muslim ethnic group, were accused of collaborating with Nazi Germany and deported en masse to Central Asia and Siberia. Tens of thousands died during the deportation and in the harsh conditions of exile. This could be also noted as a successful genocide because it significantly reduced the Crimean Tatar population in Crimea, making it easier for Russians to justify reoccupying and proclaiming it as another part of ancient Russian land. These are just a few examples of the many genocides and mass killings that have been carried out by Russia or its predecessor states throughout history. We would like to once again to point out that the purpose of this video is not to single our Russia, but merely to show how the genocide has been successfully used. The only reason we are using Russia as an example is solely because Russia still seems to be applying some of the very same policies, so we thought it would make sense to highlight the systematical nature of it. Thank you for watching this video.